Hey there, thanks for joining us at the Rabbit Hole of Research, where you'll learn a few facts that you can impress your friends with at a party.
Hey, welcome to the Rabbit Hole of Research. This here is the promised realization of this mid-episode between episode, our off-week episode. This here is a companion to episode 14. Episode 14.1, or Nick had thought episode 14.
The
B-sides.
Or,
We don't know. If you have a suggestion for these.
Corrections.
Clarifications, corrections, that kind of thing.
A lot of Joe going through and being like, I was wrong about anything I said Nick was wrong about.
I should say one of the things we do on the show, and we touched on it, is that we don't roll with the script. So we have a topic, we may have guests come in on a topic, but we don't actually sit down ahead of time and go, okay, let's cover point A, point B, point C, point D. The conversation is very fluid, and sometimes something comes up and it's, spontaneous rabbit hole. Here's what I think. And so in the show notes, I try to correct some of that or add links and references. But who reads the show notes? Probably. I don't know.
I mean, I know you do.
Well, I got to read them because I write them. But yeah, so this one was really special. Episode 14, if you don't remember, go give it a listen. It was on Regeneration, and it was special because we timed up a topic around a movie event, and that was Wolverine.
Deadpool, Wolverine.
Was it Deadpool Wolverine?
I'm pretty sure Deadpool's name is first.
Or was it Wolverine Deadpool? Because this was Deadpool 3, right? Or
yeah, it's definitely Deadpool.
I mean,
and
unfortunately,
yeah. We have to start the corrections episode with a correction.
That's just because just like in episode 14, I said I am a Wolverine fan. Full transparency, Nick and I, we just got back from the movie, from seeing it in the theater.
It just ended,
just not minutes ago,
30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So we had to get to the basement studio.
We had to go from the theater to our cars, through traffic, to his house.
To not basement studio.
Down to the basement studio.
And here we are, bringing it live. I say if you're a fan of the Wolverine, of Deadpool.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I say go see it. It's a must-see. You will laugh. You will cry. All the feels.
All the feel fails.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Well, I don't want to talk too much.
I feel like we will spoil it so hard.
There's some cool cameos in there, some throwbacks, there's some clarifications in there, I think. And
I think it gets the first official Rabbit Hole of Research thumbs up.
Yes, it does. I will say, if they would have, if Deadpool would have listened to the Regeneration episode, he would have not made a few crucial mistakes in his logic. But that's all I'm going to say there.
I mean, he went over it himself. He's no scientist.
He did say that, but if he would have checked in with the Rabbit Hole of Research. So the other thing is we want to keep these episodes kind of on the shorter side. So, kind of the 10, 15 minute mark. So not get too wordy, but yeah, that's one hit there.
Trying to go over what we've, what we might have missed on the episode and what we are currently watching and keeping up to date.
I know, Nick, you said to get ready for the movie, you had revisited
everything.
So
Deadpool 2 and Logan. What else? What was the Wolverine movie?
Was it the Wolverine? Yep,
yeah,
it was the Wolverine.
That one too.
All right, and that's what Nick did to get ready for the movie. I instead watched the Luke Cage series from the Netflix series.
I don't understand the correlation. There was no connection.
There was no correlation. I just get the text, and I'm like, I've been watching Luke Cage, but that's neither here. No, so yeah, it was good. A good series. I do enjoy Luke Cage, and now we might go back and watch Daredevil and put it all in order. But
I mean, I feel like if you would have watched the Deadpool movies you would have been like, oh yeah.
I still enjoyed it. I have seen Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2.
Are you not one of those people that has to
Logan.
watch the entire series before seeing another movie? For the Lord of the Rings films, I had to watch every.
Why are we gotta bring up Lord of the Rings? Saying on the MCU, I did before Infinity War, before Endgame, I did go through all the movies. I did do that, but then I was like, that's it. There's just too many now. There's like 100 movies. You gotta watch the variants. Should I watch Loki? You're just there spending way too much time. But okay, and so from the episode 14, going back through it, a couple things I just want to hit on. One was this idea of plant regeneration, and that was one that caught me off guard because I had not thought about it, even though my background is plants. I wanted just to touch on it because the idea was that could you cut a tree and then what would happen to its bits? And the thinking is that it would be able to regenerate. And I was like, hand waved on that one a little bit. And so, to say the least, but there actually is some ability. And we talked about this in the cloning episode, that plants do have these pluripotent cells that can become undifferentiated. So that means they can become whatever they need to be to actually grow. So a stem, a leaf, a root. And if you do cut a tree, there's a process called coppicing, the natural adaptation that allows trees to regrow from their roots or stump. And so there are some tree species that can grow from the stump, and you'll get another. Don't look at me like that.
I just want to say that I shot and I won so hard that you made it the icon for the episode.
So apple trees, there's a bunch of hardwoods, cottonwood, aspen trees, they can actually regenerate. And we went to this kind of idea of Groot, and in the scene, he was just a little twig, and they stuck him in the ground, and he started to root himself and come back. And so that is a kind of vegetative propagation, and that is an actual thing. And we touched on that in the episode, but in the plant, because they do have pluripotent cells, that they may be able to regenerate their roots and grow. Maybe not as strong as the original. So we're thinking of different trees and things like that. They might not be able to be as hardy as they were before they were stuck in the ground and re-rooted. But it is a process that can happen. So I wanted to clarify that it is possible. And some plants do have the ability, which, like I said, we danced around that, but that was something there. So
yeah.
Stop gloating. It's all right.
I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Yeah. The other thing we talked about, and after watching the movie, I just want to go back to the sack of bloody skin ball. And one was, Nick, you had asked, you said, how would regeneration start? Like, so if you had the bloody skin ball, the sack of bloody skin ball, like
the flesh sack.
The flesh sack, right. And that might have been a line in the movie. I don't know.
Don't remember.
There was quite a bit of talk about regeneration in there. So let's just be prepared.
It was very educational.
Yes. But one of the things, and I touched upon it in the episode, was this idea of bioelectricity and how our bodies use electrical signals to communicate. Most people think about these in thought or your neurons or moving muscles. You have these signals that go, but there's a lot of research now that these electrical signals could actually guide cellular behavior and tissue formation as a cellular memory of how to form. And some of this work is done in planaria. We talked about planaria, a flatworm. Its regenerative properties are really incredible. I think you can cut it into 200 some pieces and they all will reform. And so there's a lot of work there where they can use this organism and map it and its electrical signals. And there'll be a new kind of show notes with some links and things like that. But they can go and they can manipulate, not at a genetic level or a post-genetic level, but they can manipulate it at using, controlling, or switching on and off electrical signals to reform the body plan of the planera. And this is proof that these electrical signals are what's guiding the cells to actually form new organs. And the idea is that if the cells already have the information and all they need is a plan or a signal, then they can now regrow and reform the organ or the limb that's lost. And so that was really fascinating, this kind of idea that the cellular memory, because it was like, oh, if you have this thing of blood or cells or tissue, how would it know how to reform the entire plan? But this new line of evidence is suggesting that bioelectricity signals are what's controlling this growth plan. And if you understand how to manipulate that, not only can you regrow organs and things like that, but other disorder like cancer, which is this uncontrolled cellular growth, if you can control the electrical signals and reprogram the cell, then you can cure cancer and things like that. So back to Dr. Connor, right? He was,
trying to regrow. So what part of the flesh sack is going to be coming out first?
You asked that. So I guess from some level, it doesn't matter.
So it's just going to,
So you can think about it. If you had the ball of cells there, it would probably take a form the same way. I would say embryogenesis, right? Because that's all it starts out with. You have one cell divides to 2 to 4 to 8, 16. So you would form that way and then reform the body plan as you go along. So I think if you were broken down to just a few cells and had to regenerate from there, I think you would probably go back to a base embryogenesis and then reform this kind of line of bioelectricity and how they're using it to regenerate or maybe influence limb growth or organ growth is creating things like a bioreactor. And the bioreactor is there, and that would have the nutrients, that would have the environment that the cells at the wound site or at the regenerative site would be able to communicate and go, this is a good area to regrow. There's nutrients, I'm not going to dry out, I'm not going to be, infected, and then you can grow. So I think if you have this, bloody ball sack,
my plan worked. That was beautiful.
Because I just saw that movie Deadpool and his foul mouth, this sack of bloody skin ball that you would
We're leaving that in.
You would need that the nutritional load, the cell factors and things like that.
Oh, so, what's the calorie count for this one, Jeff?
That's right. No, let me tell you, there was a scene, several fight scenes in this movie, and all I could think about was that no one has had a bite to eat.
Spoiler alert. They had Spam.
They did. They had a can of Spam.
Each.
And I don't know what the calories in a can of Spam is, but it does not get close to the 50,000 per minute or whatever episode 14. Those numbers that were there. Yeah, no, it was. Yes, no, it was. Yeah, no one was eating. And I will say, everyone knows this, but Wolverine was angry. And I think that's why we discussed that. So. But yeah, those are the things I had that needed clarifying.
Cool.
I did have a thing on Voldemort, but I don't know, man.
Who?
Voldemort? Remember, it was at the end of the episode. See, it's just happening again. It's like, but he regenerated. We had this whole conversation.
Oh.
Did he regenerate? Didn't he? And
No,
I did
he
look
didn't.
that up. So essentially, he did. I mean, he regenerated his body using a series of dark rituals and potions. He used a rudimentary body potion made from the unicorn blood to create this weak baby-like form, and then he began to regain his capabilities.
He never stopped being a weak baby.
So he had the whole ritual with the bone from his father, the flesh from his servant, and the blood from his enemy Harry Potter, and then that helped restore his body and full magical powers and all that.
His father's bone?
Man, I went to the Harry Potter. I've read all the stories. I had to go back and just look this up because I was just curious. So he did regenerate.
It's really interesting the way they put them.
All right. It's a bone from his father.
It's just such a weird one to be like, yeah, just had to get a bone from my father.
That's it. He had a sack of bloody skin ball. That's all I got. I think that was it. The bioelectricity thing was really cool. And we touched on it, we skirted around it, but I was really I went down that little mini rabbit hole, and probably we'll have a whole new episode on this because it's a really fascinating area and what they're doing and where they're at. And it was cool learning a bit more about that and how far they've gotten. And probably within our lifetimes, we'll see regeneration of bits. Regeneration bits. So
that's what we should call these, regeneration bits.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. People chime in. If you got a good name, you like one of the footnotes, B-sides,
regeneration bits,
mini scenes, regeneration bits.
I mean, that one works on so many levels.
It doesn't work at all
because it's like we're reliving it, and
the mid episode. Halfway to something. I don't know. All right. That's it. That's all we got for this one. People, thanks for joining us. Thanks for following. Give us some likes. Tell a friend who might be interested in this style of podcast, communicating science, but having a lot of fun doing it. And come on down the rabbit holes with us. You guys are great out there. We've been following along. So,
yeah. And if you have any suggestions of stuff, let us know.
Well, we got one. We had a multiverse.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, we did. Someone wrote in and asked about multiverse.
think we're going to try to get that, squeeze that in this year, right?
Yeah. I think maybe November-ish episode. I think that's where we're at. Someone else had asked about the Doctor Who and revisiting time travel, so that'll probably be next year. Have a Doctor Who super fan come on with us. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say have a doctor show up on here for it.
A doctor show?
Yeah, Doctor Who show up.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, that's all right. Maybe that's a different season, like episode 500.
Yeah,
maybe we're big enough. But thank you. We'll be back in a week, I guess now.
Yeah, every week. You get to hear us every single week.
Yeah, so
no off weeks for us.
No more off weeks. I don't know about this.
No more sleep for the wicked.
And we'll soon have video, so you can see our lovely faces. Dun, dun, dun.
You can see all the looks like if Joe when he's telling me how right I am all the
when
time.
I'm saying sack a bloody skin ball.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that was Joe.
Yep.
This is Nick. And we went down a mini hole.
There it is. Stay cool, people.
Bye.
Love ya.